What is the best way to get quick gear on your alts ASAP? Because 10.15 is around the corner, coming with reworks and new specs, one new spec actually. So you might want to change your class, or maybe you just want a fresh new start on a new character, but you don't know where to get the best gear. Maybe you don't have friends or a guild, or you don't have any way to farm endgame content. Can you still get eye level enough to do all the content in WoW? You can, and this is how. And of course, before we go into it, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate it because we want to know if you like the video and you want us to do more of that. And that definitely helps. And without further ado, let's get right into it. If you're playing an alt, or maybe you're just coming into the game right now, the first thing that we recommend you do, with the easiest actually, is to hop on the auction house if you have a couple thousand gold, and then just buy the crafted PvP gear, which sits at 379 eye level. Some pieces are a little bit higher, some pieces are a little bit lower. Trinkets and rings are usually more expensive for some reason, but you can get as many of these pieces as you want, and 379 will give you a big boost in getting your eye level a little bit higher, so you can actually access some looking for group content. At the same time, work orders, if you don't have your own profession, can net you 408 eye level gear if you have some enchanted whelp crests. Whelp crests are essentially the cheapest crest that you can find pretty much doing anything in the game, whether it is quests, farming rares or elites, or doing the story or anything like that. You can get whelp crests, and through the work orders you can get an enchanter to make them into enchanted whelp crests. And with this, you can also put a work order for simple items that don't require the spark, you know, the spark that you might already know of, to get you 408 eye level gear in quite a few slots. And of course, past this, you can just move on to craft the gear with your sparks once you farmed enough of them. Moving after this, if you're just wanting to take it chill, if you don't have a guild, if you don't have a group to farm endgame content and you don't know where to go, open world content is just as good. First of all, it gives you explorer gear. Explorer gear can be raised all the way to 398 item level with just flight stones, and you have so many flight stones if you do any amount of world quests or farm treasures or anything like that, and you'll never not have enough to get your gear to 398. Also, the questing or the story in the Zarla Cavern rewards gear like this. And sometimes with world quests, you can also get veteran pieces of gear, which are of much higher item level and can be upgraded even higher, although you might need some higher level crests. But easy enough. Campaigns and other sources can reward you adventurer gear that goes all the way to 411 item level. For rock assaults, once or twice per week can also be a good source of gear. It rewards you with at least a 405 item level weekly item. And during the assault, if you loot different things and kill different stuff, you can get 389s, 392 eye level gear, which is good enough to set you up for endgame content. The world boss in the Zarla Cavern also rewards you, if you're lucky, with 421 champion gear, which obviously goes way higher if you upgrade it. And by this point, you should probably have enough eye level to do LFR. Although you might think that LFR is beneath you, or maybe you have some anxiety, don't fret, it's actually fairly easy, and it's not beneath you because LFR, I think you need 386 item level to get into it, although my 384 mage seems to be able to get into it anyway. You'll be able to get tier tokens, if of course you're lucky, but that's the point. And if not, you'll at least fill your vault slots with raid bosses from LFR, which when it comes to tier tokens, it doesn't even matter if they're LFR level because they're still very good, probably way better than any other non-tier token piece in the same slot. Plus, of course, you can upgrade LFR gear since they do go from 408 to 418, and you can take them way higher with the appropriate resources. And speaking of another looking for group content, the weekly LFR and Heroic Dungeon quest is highly underrated because it does reward you with a 415 champion gear by just doing 5 heroics, which are fairly really easy. And also gives you a Drake Crest reward as well to help you get gear to higher item level. And the actual Heroic Dungeons themselves reward you with 389 item level adventurer gear. And if you're already doing this and you still don't have enough for LFR, then you will definitely have enough after this. The weekly events is also a good source of gear if it's not PvP or pet battles, because, I mean, you can do those if you want to. Pet battles, I don't think, reward you with any gear. But outside of those, you can have time walking, you can have dungeons, you can have raid bosses, anything. And it can reward you with normal and heroic level gear. you can be lucky and get your Ash Candor the way I did on my warrior from one of those weekly events. And on top of this comes the ever so prevalent farming super rares, farming treasures, farming events, doing all the quests, if we're talking about a perspective of a character where you cannot take it into dungeons and raids in high item level. Although, we do recommend you hop into Mythic Plus at any one point, because Mythic Plus is a very good source, probably the best source of gear actually. Depending on the level that you do, obviously you'll get different levels of gear and different levels of crest that you can use to upgrade that gear and essentially take your gear idle level to way higher than, first of all, the dungeons that you're doing can reward you and that you might not be able to do on your own, because this is how you're going to get your character to constantly elevate in terms of content and eventually reach higher levels of content that you can do, giving you even more levels and even more gear, eventually getting you to like 430, even 440 item level gear if you farm enough 16s and 17s, where you get the aspect crests, which are the strongest crests to get you the strongest, highest level of crafted gear. And this essentially is the best way to gear your characters, and that is through Mythic Plus. Since the catalyst is up, Mythic Plus, although it will not reward you with tier tokens per se, it does reward you with, chest pieces, helmets, shoulders, pants, and gloves that can be catalyzed. And by the time you're watching this video, we already are in the week 3 of the catalyze system, which gives you 3 instant tier pieces if you have the items to catalyze them directly into their slot, and you would probably be only missing 1. And if you cannot find that one through a full LFR clear, a vault opening, or even a normal raid, which by this point you should be more than capable of doing with over 400 item level on your character, then I guess you may be just unlucky. And then you just wait one more reset, and then you can just get your 4 set anyway. So at the very most, if you're starting your gearing process right now, in about 2 weeks, 2 resets max, you should have 4 set and over 411, 412, 430, depending on how high you push item level across your character, and easily be able to do all of the endgame content, save for maybe Mythic rating and plus 20s. But even with Mythic rating, once you get to like 430 item level, you have more than enough power to kill the early bosses going into later and later, depending on your guild's progression. And all of these points to upgrade your gear and get your alt or even main up to snuff with everybody else are good, but if you have a group of friends or maybe even a really cool guild, you can just speed run Mythic Plus, at least starting with plus 11s, if they can take you through some of those dungeons, and even higher 16s, 17s, and so on, and normal, even heroic raid, because pretty much everybody that's been playing this patch since the beginning should probably be able to blast the heroic raids so far. If not, normal is more than enough. You'll be able to bypass all of these steps, forget crafted gear, forget heroic assaults, forget LFRs and weekly events and all that, just do dungeons and raids, and you will be able to get 430 or 40 item levels in a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 at the very most. In a couple of resets with all the catalysts, revival catalyst, and all of that, you'll be able to get your full tier set and be able to do Mythic rating in plus 20s. But you have to go through these steps one at a time, or essentially have a good social group to get you through it, because that's WoW right now. It's pretty easy, pretty quick to get gear. It's fun to play alt. It's very alt friendly, so get your alt ready and hop into the game, because it's really fun. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, patrons, for supporting the content, making this possible. Love you all, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.